And thanks so much for your patience. We had some technical difficulties, so we had to restart this live. Now I'm gonna invite Hope to join us so we can continue this interesting conversation. So we'll give her a couple minutes to join. All right. Very strange. Oh, here you are. Hey,
Okay.
you're back.
Hello. Maybe it'll work this time.
Yes. Yes. It happened. It's really weird. It happened to me yesterday as well, but yesterday we were able to bounce back without
Yeah.
restarting.
Yeah, it's happened to me before too, and I don't know like what the solution is there, but I'm glad we got it back on.
Yes, yes. You were talking about your studio, and
Yes,
then
let's
the
talk about
women coming
studio.
to, your
Yes.
studio like needed
Yes.
more.
Yes. So yeah, so basically I just realized like that this whole like losing weight thing like they were coming to me for was a much deeper conversation than just talking about calories and macros, right? Like these women had, intense hormonal issues and gut issues, thyroid, inflammation, there's all these things at play. And so that really led me down the path of furthering my education as a holistic nutritionist and then doing the functional diagnostic nutrition program to be an FDNP and just kind of led me to where I am now and just being able to reach women at that deeper level and really put all of the pieces together.
Love it. You take a like a almost like a mind, body, spirit approach. Like, what does that
Yeah.
mean to you?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's kind of over time as I've evolved as a human, like my practice has evolved and how I serve people has evolved. And yeah, I mean, I think initially it was kind of the mind body connection, right? I mean, I was looking at the body and how the mind plays into it, but I think so often we miss that spirit piece, like that really like true holistic equation is the mind, the body, and the spirit. And so a few years ago, I started diving into like energy medicine and Reiki and energy healing and all of that kind of stuff, and realizing that, throughout my own transformation with myself, realizing that this like spiritual emotional piece was the piece that I had a big piece that I had been missing within myself. And so realizing that all these things going on in the physical body really do have an energetic emotional root cause. And so we really have to put the whole equation together and look at the problem holistically, putting the mind, the body, and the spirit together.
That is so cool. What role does nutrition play in mind, body, and spirit maintenance?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. And I think anybody listening knows how important nutrition is and how it can really make or break how our body is functioning, right? I mean, we look at nutrition, and I think this is a piece for me personally that I felt while I did grow up dancing and moving, I also grew up with really disordered eating behaviors, probably because I was part of the dance world. That's just kind of what happens a lot of times. And so for me, you know, food was like a scary thing, right? I was scared of food and so I think as I've grown and as I've been able to heal myself, I grew up with IBS and all kinds of gut issues, realizing that there is power in nutrition and how much nutrition plays a part into our physical body, our emotional body, our mental, like it affects everything, how we're thinking, how we're perceiving the world, and how our body is functioning. And it really is affecting all parts of our health and our wellness.
Mm. So today we're talking about bone density. Can poor nutrition factor into the development of low bone density?
Yeah, totally. So I think this is kind of a two-part thing. I think part of it is, the more is kind of inadequate. Well, I guess it really goes down to inadequate nutrition. So it can be inadequate nutrition in terms of like just kind of eating junk, right? A lot of processed foods. When your body's not getting the minerals and the nutrients that it needs, it's going to leach that out from our bones and our tissues. And so when we're eating a lot of processed foods, calcium is one of those things that helps build strong bones, along with magnesium. All of these minerals that work together to help with bone formation and bone density, those are going to be bleached out from other places, and it's going to cause us to lose that. The other piece of that is when we're not getting enough of just those nutrients in general. So that under eating is something that I see a lot with women, and they come to me wanting to lose weight and they're eating like minimal calories. And it's such a mindset shift because I'm telling them like you're not eating enough. Like, no, I want to lose weight though. I'm like, yeah, I know, but you're not eating enough, right? It's kind of a weird thing for us to wrap our heads around a lot of times. But a lot of times we're not getting all those crucial vitamins and I know we'll probably get to this in a second, but things like magnesium and vitamin K and vitamin D and zinc and all these other nutrients play a part in how our overall body's functioning, but also in our bone density. And when we're lacking in those essential vitamins and minerals, then our bone density is going to take a hit.
That makes so much sense because I think oftentimes people don't think about losing weight actually requires your
Right?
metabolism to work well to lose
Exactly.
weight. So
Exactly.
without those essential nutrients which you need to get it from eating and your food, you
Hmm.
actually cannot lose weight, just
Exactly.
simply.
It's exactly it.
So what exactly is low bone density?
Yeah, so basically just this means that the mineral density of our bones is diminishing. And so this is kind of like the precursor to things like osteopenia and then osteoporosis. So it kind of works in steps. So I think it's the good thing, like obviously as the older you get, it's recommended to get your bone density checked, but it's good to check it regularly because we do kind of have those steps. Like you don't have to wait to have full on osteoporosis to do something about it. Like we can see kind of how your bone density is as you're aging, and then we can take the steps required to hold on to that. And it is possible. I mean, it is definitely harder, but it is possible to reverse things like osteopenia too. It just takes the right nutrition and the right protocol for that.
Mm. Why do women over age 50 tend to have lower bone density?
Yeah. So estrogen basically has this protective property about it that helps us hold on to bone density. And so estrogen in our body helps formation of what are called osteoblasts, which are basically cells that help make bone. And so the older we get, as we get to perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, our estrogen levels drop dramatically. So then we no longer have that kind of protective mechanism against our bone density, which is why it's so important as we age to keep up with things that are going to help our bone density. So exercise being a huge one, and getting the right vitamins and minerals and nutrients to help build healthy, strong bones so that we are being proactive about it. And again, you're not waiting until the doctor tells you have osteopenia to do something about it.
I feel like those tips are kind of applied to people for all
Totally.
ages, not just women over 50. Because you had also a really great post indicating that women who are under 50 can also develop like a low bone density and mainly because of stress.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what role does like stress play in
Yeah.
low bone density?
Stress is a huge one. And I think, there's been some articles and research out lately showing that women younger and younger are getting diagnosed with either osteopenia or just low bone density, like their bone density is diminishing at a younger age. And just like, so estrogen kind of has this protective quality about it with our bone density. When we're stressed, we emit the stress hormone cortisol, and cortisol has the opposite effect. Cortisol is kind of gonna block the formation of those cells, and so it does start to literally can break down our bones from that chronic stress. So when we're constantly stressed, when our adrenals are constantly working to manage stress, it's going to pump out more and more cortisol, and this really is going to affect your bone health and your bone density.
What are some holistic ways so we can reduce stress?
Such a good question, right? It's like it's the question of the century, right? I mean, and I know I was doing an interview, I think it was yesterday. I was on a podcast interview and we were talking about stress and talking about like how to help the adrenals. And I said, it's not the sexy answer anybody wants. It's like manage your stress. Like it's not the exciting thing you want to talk about. And it sounds so like, but it really is. It really is the thing. Like we have to be able to manage our stress. And so I think it looks different for everybody. I think first of all, the awareness piece is key, and just knowing like what your triggers are, the things that trigger you into that stressful state. And it's also want to say that it's not about avoiding stress. I mean, we're here living a human existence. We're going to have stress. It's just having the capability to minimize like being in that stressed state, right? Being able to come out of that stress state faster. And so I think the awareness piece is huge, knowing, understanding what your triggers are, what should trigger you into that stressful state. And then understanding what um, what strategies work for you, because I have clients that different strategies work for different people. I'm a huge proponent of meditation. I think meditation can change people's lives. It's changed mine, but it doesn't always work for everybody, at least not right away. Like if somebody's nervous system is so just stressed out, then telling them to sit down, be still, and don't think about anything is like it's not going to happen, right? So sometimes we need a more active practice to kind of give us some tools. So things like breath work is a great one. Breath work is a more active practice. So people who maybe struggle with meditation, breath work can kind of get them in that. EFT tapping is a great one. When you're doing tapping on the meridians of the body, helps with stress. It can also look like going for a walk, right? Walking nature, walk outside. It can look like journaling. For one of my clients, it's gardening. That gets her into kind of this mindfulness state. So it's really all about getting out of your mind and into your body, and quieting down the mind and like the chatter in your head and getting into that space. And that's what's, again, it's kind of building resiliency in the nervous system to help you manage stress. And it's just more tools in your tool belt to be able to manage. And even in the moment, like having those tools in the moment to know how to keep yourself from like escalating in that stressful state.
Absolutely. What are some essential vitamins and minerals that for healthy bones?
Yeah. So we all know calcium. Calcium is a big one. And I could honestly talk about calcium all day because this is such a hot topic, because there's a lot of misconceptions about calcium. And a lot of times, doctors just tell their patients to take calcium and that's kind of the end of it, but that's not really the end of it. Like, that's not the whole story, because yes, while we need calcium, what's really required for healthy, strong bones is the cofactors along with that. It is actually really dangerous to take calcium by itself. And it's really dangerous to take high amounts of calcium at once. Your body can really only metabolize like 500 milligrams at a time. So I've had clients whose doctors have told them to take like 1,500, 2,000 milligrams of calcium a day. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Like, this is really not safe. So if you are going to take a supplement, just make sure you're not taking more than 500 milligrams at a time. And the key here is having those cofactors. So boron and vitamin K are two really important ones. These basically help shuttle the calcium where it needs to go so it doesn't get pushed out into the tissues. This is when it becomes dangerous. And I do what's called a hair tissue mineral analysis on my clients, and measures, calcium in the soft tissue. And this is when it can become dangerous, because when calcium gets built up in the soft tissue, it can affect how our cells are functioning and how the cells are talking to each other. And this is like a whole other conversation, but it can become dangerous. So there is such a thing as, first of all, there's such a thing as too much calcium, but it's really about the calcium and the cofactors, like all these things put together. So the boron, the magnesium, vitamin K, vitamin D, like all of these play a part in our bone health and how the calcium is being used in the body.
Is there a specific calcium supplement you would recommend? Because oftentimes I often see they just calcium. It doesn't have the cofactors. Is there something out there that's included?
There's quite a few actually. So even if you're getting your supplements on Amazon or whatever it is, just make sure you read the label. And there's a lot of them out there now. A lot of brands are doing a better job now and I would say like most more, and this is like a lesson to live by, is always read the label. Like, it's not everything.
Absolutely.
But when we're looking at calcium, it really is important to look and see what it is, because you really do want those cofactors. And if it doesn't have the cofactors, then take those separately. Find you a magnesium, vitamin K, supplement that has that. But as long as we're taking them together, but just make sure you read the label and you're not just taking calcium by itself.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Are there some food that a person should incorporate into their diet for better bone health?
Yeah. So all those nutrients that I was just talking about, those are the foods you want to incorporate into your diet. And so things like, if you're somebody who can eat dairy, and not everybody can eat dairy, and I'm not a huge proponent of adding a lot of dairy into your diet, but it's been fortified with calcium. But really you can get it from nuts and seeds and legumes, which are also high in the mineral boron, like we talked about. We need boron. Leafy greens, magnesium and vitamin K can be found in leafy greens and seeds. So all of those foods, raisins, prunes, oranges, those are also high in calcium. So those can be foods that you can incorporate into your diet every day. And then again, there's also been research studies about the impact that exercise has on your bone density. And they've studied like groups who are just doing it with food alone and groups who are doing it with exercise. And the groups with exercise actually had better bone density than those who are focusing on just a food like nutrition approach. So the exercise piece is a huge piece for bone health.
You almost answered my next question, because my next question is like, how does weight-bearing exercise help with bone health? Because in the past we have interviewed others that talking about how, especially for women who's over 50 and have passed the menopause, like really, really important to do weight-bearing exercise and weight training.
Yep. And that's right. The key there is the weight bearing activity, and that's what helps build healthy bones and healthy bone density. So the bone is a living tissue, and so it's gonna respond to any force that's put upon it. And so when you exercise regularly, you're putting force on your bones and your joints, and that's what's making them stronger, making them more resilient and helping with the bone density. And so the weight bearing exercise is crucial. And I think especially we're talking about women over 50 and women as they approach menopause and get, post menopause. It's the bone health, but then it's also the muscle mass. So if you want to hold on to as much muscle mass as we can, right? And that's really what's great for healthy metabolism and a bunch of other things that we could talk about. Again, a whole other conversation, but that's where the weight bearing and the weight training comes in, is being able to maintain the muscle mass and really, and it helps with healthy like hormone balance, and it's going to help. It's harder the older we get over 50, the harder it is to lose weight, right? And things just work differently when our estrogen levels aren't what they used to be in our 30s and all that, right? And so weight training, weight bearing activity really has so many benefits. The bone density, of course, and then holding on to muscle. Now, the muscle and the bone health like really are crucial as we age.
I think people also often forget that muscle actually burns way more calories.
Yeah, exactly.
So, if you actually build up your muscle mass, not only it's great for your health, it's like it literally is going to help you lose weight.
Exactly. And that's a hard one because, again, like going back to what you were saying earlier about eating more, it's like, well, to burn or to build muscle, like we have to do the strength training and we have to eat, like calories help build. So you have to put those two together, but it really is. I mean, you burn more muscle with your basal metabolic rate based on how much muscle mass you have than just exercise. So why wouldn't we work on, building muscle?
So perfect. You offer functional health assessment to potential clients. What is that like? What can a potential client expect?
Yeah. So I always like to have a functional health assessment call with people just to kind of learn about where they are, because with my work that I do, so I basically am putting together like functional medicine with energy medicine. So not everybody's a great fit. Not everybody is into those modalities. So first, being able to have a conversation and kind of seeing where people are in terms of being open-minded, because I think a big piece to trying to, even if you are open to more like functional holistic ways, you also your mind still has to be in the right place, because it's the limiting beliefs really play a part into your healing process. And so being able to have a conversation about how open-minded are we to try new things, and your beliefs and that kind of thing really do make an impact. I mean, your mindset plays a huge part of it. And then the other piece is, because as an FDNP, I run a lot of functional labs. And so being able to kind of dive deeper into people's chronic symptoms and issues that they're dealing with is going to give me a better idea of what route to take in terms of like what lab should we be running, and give me an idea of kind of what direction to take them in terms of which program would be a good fit for them.
That is so cool. That's a really personalized approach. Because you mentioned also earlier, everybody, not only their mindset could be different, but also their bodies are really different. How they respond to things are totally different.
Yep, exactly. And it does take an individual approach. And I think a lot of times that's what's missing with a lot of other modalities and other practitioners and maybe the conventional medicine world, is we're treating symptoms and that's it. Like, we're not treating the person, we're not treating the human. All of us have our DNA is different, and our traumas are different, our emotions are different, our life experiences are different, and all of these play a part into what's going on in our physical body. And so the only way to get to the root cause of what's going on is to put all of those, take into account all of those things.
Absolutely. Tell us about some of the master classes and guides that you have.
Yeah. So I typically do a free master class every month. This month I have one, actually it's next week. What is today? I think it's next week. It's next week on the 24th, and I'm calling it Supplements 101. This is a master class it's all about supplements, obviously, but I think there's a lot of noise out there. It's, billions and billions of dollars are put into the supplement industry. And so a lot of times I think people know, like, there's some scammers out there. There's some stuff out there that's like, is that true? And so my goal really is to kind of break through the BS and help people understand like what to look for, how to find the right supplements for them, what companies are legit companies that are using like research-backed things to build their formulas for their supplements, when to use what supplement, how to support your body, all those kind of things. So I like to do a free masterclass each month just to support and give valuable information for people on their journey.
That is so cool. What about the guides?
Yes, I have a few guides too. So I have a guide. I have a few, one that can help balance hormones. I'll serve pretty much anybody. I'm mostly focused on women. That's just who comes to me, women entrepreneurs and coaches and leaders. And so I have a guide that's balancing hormones to balance your business. And it's just creating balance in your body via your hormones, which helps bring balance to your business and to your life. I have a seed cycling guide to help guide women through seed cycling to help balance their hormones. And then I have another free guide about minerals and basically using mineral balancing to remedy chronic symptoms. So knowing how to use mineral balancing to help with common chronic symptoms.
This is so cool. I think this is like everybody needs to look at these guys, not just like women and or
That's
not
right.
just women over 50.
Yes, exactly.
Uh, you also hold a podcast, Hopeful and Wholesome. So what kind of topic do you cover, and what do you talk about?
Yeah. So, I mean, this conversation is a good example of things we talk about. So, the premise of the show really is health, wellness, and inspiration. And so, I'm covering everything from health, nutrition, mindset, spirituality, emotional health, mental health, all those things, all the parts that play into our wellness. We're having all of those fun conversations on the show.
That is so cool. Anything else you'd like to share?
You can just, if you want to learn more, I mean, you can just go check out my Instagram page and join. I have a couple free Facebook groups. I have one, if you're on Facebook, I have one for coaches and entrepreneurs, and I have one just for anybody who wants to learn more about functional health, functional nutrition, and all the things we're talking about. That you can find me on Instagram and learn more and jump into any of my free masterclasses.
This is so cool. And I encourage everybody to at least like check out the guides and then definitely join the masterclass. This is like such wonderful information. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.